Thank you so much for joining me, Michael. Michael Ponce is the VP of Design at My Arcade. As far as I know, you might have been promoted since we last talked because you're a rock star and you do just about everything under the sun. So thank you for joining me first and foremost. This is my second episode of the podcast, and I couldn't have thought of a better guest to have. Having worked with you for a few months back in 2024 to 2025, had a tremendous experience working with you. So I wanted to bring you on and see if there's anything you wanted to share with the community. I kind of overlap with the home arcade space, the gaming space, the tech space. So much so, I was the spokesperson for Arcade1Up, as you know, for quite a few years and helped build them up. And the community's constantly asking me to take advantage of my network, to connect with some cool people, and to go behind the scenes. They're tired of all the PR fluff, so they want to go into the nitty gritty. Thanks for joining me, Michael.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me, David. Yeah, I think you and I first met probably got to be almost 2 years ago now, and yeah, so it's been cool, kind of building up our relationship over time, and you've been a great you become the voice of a generation for the retro gaming industry. So
Thank you.
yeah, thanks for having me, and yeah, my title is still VP of Design, and it's this is actually a great time to chat. Because CES was last week, so I had a whole week's worth of other interviews and just like cold questions from people. So I'm nice and prepped to talk to the Mac Daddy.
It's funny. I thought about doing the whole write out a billion questions, send them beforehand, and I was like, you know what? Like, I don't have any prepared questions. I just want to shoot from the hip, and if we enter some great territory, that's fine. We can dance around it. But I wanted to just have a real conversation. So before we started recording, I started asking questions, and you're like, "Why don't we just go live?" So we're recording now. There's nothing off the off the record. How was your holiday? How's business? How's everything going with My Arcade?
Business is good. Is going great. I think what you just mentioned. It's nice to do an interview just kind of off the cuff sometimes, because I think you and I just tend to have interesting conversations anyway. So it's like we're making some good jokes here and there earlier. So we're like, just turn on the microphone. Let's go live. We'll do it live.
Yeah.
But yeah, business has been going great. My arcade over the past 4 or 5 years has really just gone to a different level. The company, Dream Gears, the parent company, has been around for over 20 years now, and My Arcade, the first My Arcade products had actually started a few years after that, which were just kind of like generic plug and plays, and so it's been a consistent kind of gradual growth since back then, and now we're doing the best work the company has ever had with having all of our officially licensed products, and from small mini arcades to large tabletop versions. So so things are going really well.
That's exciting to hear. So just in case somebody's never heard of you, never heard of My Arcade, just a little bit of a background. So to your point, Dream Gear is a parent company. They do a plethora of products, not just arcade related handhelds, collectibles. And by the way, they dominate that market space. I see you guys at airports. I see you guys internationally. I see you at all major retailers, Costco, Target, Best Buy, Amazon. The list goes on. Might have missed Walmart, but you're everywhere. You're taking over the world. It's global domination. But you don't just do the arcade products. You guys have, I believe it's Bionics. Correct me if I'm wrong. You have gaming accessories, peripherals, headsets, controllers, keyboards, the whole shebang. You guys do everything under the sun when it comes to gaming and tech.
Yeah, I mean, there's the 4 separate sub brands that are under Dream Gear. Dream Gear is also one of the brands, but My Arcade as well, which is retro video game products. iSound, which was our Apple and audio and portable charging solutions brand, which was huge about a decade ago. Kind of, iSound was the My Arcade before My Arcade in terms of like how much attention it got from the company, and of course Bionic for more premium video game accessories. But My Arcade is definitely the elephant in the room. I mean, 98% of our effort goes to My Arcade these days, and it just keeps getting bigger and bigger.
That's cool. And how long have you been with the company?
Oh man, over 15 years. October was 15 years.
Wow, congrats.
Yeah,
They give
thank you.
you a medal. Is there a 15-year ceremony they do for lifetime employees? One thing that should be mentioned, and it's a kudos to Michael. Whenever you go to a company as a consultant, I work with a plethora of different brands. You get to go in, you see how they operate. Michael is the guy who's there when the lights go off, and then he's still there. You know what I mean? Like there was a couple meetings while I was visiting that you stayed till probably to deal with China, but you were there till like 9, 10, 11 p.m. Not like a one-off. You were there late frequently, and that type of work ethic is kind of the backbone to how some of these companies are able to break through. So credit where it's due. I think you're a rock star in terms of who you are, what you do, and we can get into what you do. I think that'd be a cool transition and segue, and also how you do it. So even though your title is VP of Design, you're doing everything. I reported to you as a marketing consultant. You're overseeing the PR team. You're overseeing communications, product naming. Would you like to go in a little bit deeper in terms of what exactly you do at My Arcade?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, when I first started the company, I was the first in-house product designer. And so prior to that, the vast majority of the product line were just sourced products from China, meaning that, we buy finished goods from the factory and silkscreen a logo on it and sell it. And the company did really well for a number of years with that kind of approach. But once we started developing products in-house, it totally revolutionized the kind of the company culture with how we look at creating and launching new products. But yeah, that was early on, and then after a few years, I was in charge of the design team, so growing that out, and then now overseeing graphics, packaging, UI UX. Marketing, especially on the digital marketing side with social media, press releases. We just finished CES. Our team designed the trade show booth, and of course, working with licensors. So whether it's talking with new licensors or the kind of day-to-day submissions and approval processes, that really comes entirely from our team. And I think as far as staying late, it's just quite honestly, during the day, there's so many kind of like meetings and kind of people popping in with questions here and there, that really the best time to get some work done is at the end of the day after everybody leaves. It's like can finally just kind of like lock in to like a flow state and just get work done on my computer. So it works well. And of course the factories are open, it's their morning when it's nighttime here. So that's another benefit.
Yeah, he's not kidding. When I was in the office, there was a desk right across the hall from Michael, and I was peeping in to see whenever he was available or off a call, which is rare, by the way. You're always on calls and in meetings. So thank you so much for giving me some of your very valuable time. But yeah, you're everybody goes to Michael. He's one of those people at a company that everybody can go to because he's been there for so long and he's a wealth of knowledge and also just knows a lot, not just about the brand, but about the space. When I remember we did an exercise together when we were talking about the naming conventions for some of the products, and that's a sophisticated process. You guys have a lot of different product lines, a lot of different naming conventions. So it's not easy when you think about how do people search these products. And to peel the layer back of the onion, having the depth of knowledge from marketing and then being able to translate that into PD, product development, and creative direction for booth layouts, you really benefit from understanding what search terms are people looking at, how are they finding our brand, how do we translate that into a booth. For example, when I came to your booth last year at CES, it was incredible. You guys had Sonic, the Sonic, was it Pac-Man and Capcom collaboration. You guys deal with mega brands. What's that process like, and is there one that stands out the most that really you enjoy working with? You don't have to pick a favorite, but perhaps it's more nostalgic. You grew up with that brand, or is there anything that really stands out for you?
Um, I think working with the licensors, they all have so many cool games that we like. So it's kind of nice being able to like jump back and forth, whether it's Pac-Man with Bandai or Street Fighter with Capcom, or Atari has a giant portfolio of cool games. There's just so many. Tetris, there's so many that are just games that we enjoy playing anyway. So it's great to kind of be able to jump back and forth between different products and licenses. The naming convention is really dictated by, you know, for the majority of our history, we've done mini arcades, like miniature tabletop arcades. And so, like this is the Sonic joystick player that we just launched the end of last year. And this was actually sold at Costco as a holiday season item and did really well, sold through. It includes 2 Sonic games. And when we posted this on social media, it actually was our most viewed Instagram post ever. And so,
Wow.
yeah, so Sega's our newest license, and there's been so much support from those guys. Like they've been just in terms of like recency bias, they've been a great licensor to partner with. But all of our licensors are very good, and we work so closely with them that they really feel in a way like an extension of our own team. Like we talk to them almost every day. So yeah, but as far as naming conventions, it's really, when we have so many different SKUs and price points, the naming conventions are just a way to help kind of clarify that. And I think that's kind of a good thing. I know for maybe a new consumer, there's a lot of different products to kind of get familiarized with, but I think when we're trying to make products that are for everybody in terms of price point or the license or which games are included, yeah, it can be kind of a challenge. It's more almost like kind of like designing like shoes, right? Like if you're Nike or Adidas, how do you come up with a naming convention when you have so many different SKUs that you need to consider?
Yeah, it's tough. And then there's always a coin flip in terms of, do they land? Does it work? How does it perform? Those types of things. That's cool. I know this is a trending theme because I know it didn't just happen to you. It's happened to many different clients of mine, and I don't want to put you on the spot, so we don't have to specifically name a brand or anything. But sometimes, this is for the fans watching, you are so close on deadlines up until the eve of a launch, where some things are go or no go up until like midnight the night before. Do you have any stories of things that maybe didn't happen, or things that were really down to the wire, that you'd like to share today?
Oh man, down to the wire. Let's see. Um, when I was in China at last July, I was in China for about a month. We were working on our Pac-Man 45th anniversary product lines. So that included a tabletop machine called the Mighty Player, and then a handheld called the Pocket Player Max. And so these are important products as part of the Pac-Man collection. And we had a shipping deadline because a retailer had a delivery deadline that they had to receive the order by. So I was at the factory literally every day, just going over the finest little details, like making sure the packaging was right, the materials, the tape they're using to seal the edges is good. And even on the product, there's a lot of things that go into that, of course, and it's multiple games in one product, especially for an IP like Pac-Man. But one of the big features that we've kept in all of our Pac-Man items was high score saving. And so for the Pac-Man 45th anniversary, that was probably one instance where we did not include high score saving because there were some technical challenges. So we got to a point where we had to decide, okay, do we bring the product to market because we already have a commitment from a major retailer, without high score saving, or do we delay the shipment and risk losing it to try to keep the high score saving? And so ultimately we had to go forward with the order because our retail relationships are very important. But I think that's a situation where over time, we'll iron out a way and how to figure out how to bring back that feature again, because I think it's something people really care about, and and we listen to our community.
Yes, you do. I can speak firsthand because while at and working with you guys, you constantly had an ear to the ground in terms of what was being said. I think it's worth noting, and it kind of ties back to the first statement I had mentioned around your work ethic. That trip wasn't originally a month long. If I recall correctly, I had been chatting with you around that time, and you're like, "Yeah, I'm just in China for a week. I'll hit you back when I'm back." And then it became 2 weeks and 3 weeks. Do you want to talk about not just your dedication to getting things done, but the passion required to get some of these things past the finish line is truly unmatched.
Yeah, that trip to China was supposed to be a week, and it was me and Jonah, who's VP of Product Dev, and so we went to China for the week, and but by the time the first week finished, there was still a lot of work to do, and so I talked to the CEO at our office. He said, "Oh, do you mind staying another week?" And I'm like, okay, fine, let's do it. Basically, in terms of like prototyping, like there's usually enough time to get one, maybe 1.5 prototypes per week. And so every week that you're there gives you a chance to see another round of improvements. And so, but yeah, I remember around the third week, I started to get really homesick. And, because I'd been in China for whatever, 2.5 weeks. And I was getting homesick. But what was interesting is around the fourth week, I started kind of getting in a groove. Like you start to know like where your favorite cafes are, or like the restaurants you like, and you start like recognizing people. So it's like, hey, how's it going? And so you kind of get into like a groove. But then at the end of the fourth week, they're like, okay, Michael, time to come back to the office. And so had to pull the plug. But yeah, that was a great trip. We got so much work done, and we have a lot of new items that we're planning on launching this year. So I'm already starting to look ahead for the next China trip.
That's exciting. And that's a perfect transition. So, obviously, this is a podcast to talk about you, the company you represent. But I'd be interested to learn more, and maybe you can share with the fans watching what exactly you guys shared at CES, what's new, and if there's any particular focuses you'd like to talk about. I have my favorites of products I've worked with you and helped launch, and we can dive into that after. But I'd love to hear from you directly.
Yeah, our major announcement for CES this year was our Gamestation Retro line. It's just a prototype on my desk of the handheld. This is the Gamestation Retro Go. And so this is a collection of games from Bandai Namco and Capcom. And so it includes over 200 built-in titles. It's built-in rechargeable battery. It has a kickstand on the back, so you can stand it up if you're playing at a park or outside. Want to stand it up. Has HDMI for connecting to TV. You can also pair it with the Gamestation Retro gamepad. And there's also a larger tabletop arcade stick. I don't have my desk at the moment, but this was our big announcement for CES, and it's already just trending off the charts. Some of the influencers that have posted about it, like they've just commented to us like, "Oh my gosh, like there's so much hype for this thing," and I think it makes sense. It's Bandai Namco and Capcom, so that's about as big as it gets in retro gaming. That was a big one. And last year our big announcement was the Gamestation Go, the Atari Gamestation Go, and that thing was a huge success. I actually have one on my desk here, the Atari Gamestation Go. Yeah, the legend. And this thing was a huge success as well. I mean, the first video that we posted on social media for this, we actually did a co-promotion with Atari for this item. Just one video got 1.1 million views. That's not even combined across all platforms. That was just, I think that was just X, aka Twitter.
Yeah,
so
that's incredible.
Yeah, I mean, it just, these numbers are kind of like off the charts. Like My Arcade has been kind of a name in the industry for a while, but now actually getting this kind of attention, both of working with guys like you, to really kind of spread the word about us, and even just kind of our more kind of holistic omni-channel marketing approaches. It's great that My Arcade is becoming a household name. When people talk about retro gaming, My Arcade is really kind of at the top of the list now. So for this year, we also announced the Atari Gamestation gamepads. So these are wireless controllers that you can connect to the Atari Gamestation Go. So if it's either connected to your TV, or if you're using the kickstand on the go, you can use these as kind of an option to play wirelessly as a controller. These are also cool. With the right behind me is the Atari Gamestation Mega, which is the tabletop version. It shares the same software package as the Gamestation Go, but just done in like a large wood cabinet. And so we're really thoughtful to make sure that like within our product collections, the products are compatible like within their own ecosystem.
Wow, that's cool. Yeah, I mean, from what I saw and what I have seen, I have a bit more privilege than most in terms of having, behind the scenes peek at some of your guys' product catalog and, being in the office and seeing some things that I saw. You guys have a dedication to, I wouldn't say like a fixation, but you guys focus so heavily on details. It's so important to you guys that they're compatible. You've thought about everything. I'll use the Atari Gamestation Go or perhaps the Gamestation Retro because that's more recent. But you guys have created essentially a Nintendo Switch, but for different demographics who are focused on retro gaming, who are focused on nostalgia. And one of the most frequently asked questions I saw on socials or perhaps in person when we were working at the booth was how is this any different than getting that game on a Switch or X, Y, and Z? And the fact that your controls are specifically tailored to the games, and it's not just there's a bunch of buttons, joysticks, and track balls and all that stuff. It's you guys even patented and created your own glow button technology. And I know you probably correct me on what it's called, but essentially when you're playing a game that requires the D-pad or a joystick or a trackball, something like Centipede, that trackball glows up. So there's no guessing what controls you need to use for each specific game, which is incredible, especially to make and capture the simplicity of arcade games. I think that's
Oh,
so important.
yeah, so that's the technology we invented called Smart Glow. And what Smart Glow is that whatever controls or buttons that you need for a particular game are what will light up. So each of the controls each has a glowing ring around it. So if you're playing a game that just needs the D-pad and the A button, just those will light up. If you need something that's, the trackball and A and B, just for example, those are what will light up. And so that's what we launched on the Atari Gamestation Go last year, and it was a huge hit. And so for this year with the Gamestation Retro line, we actually have a more advanced version of Smart Glow that includes the same base function as that we used for Atari, but now this also has a turbo button. So if whatever button that you assign turbo to, say you're playing Street Fighter and you want to do the fast kick with Chun-Li or E Honda, you can assign it to one of the buttons, and then that button will glow red to let you know that the turbo is assigned to it. Or we have our macro buttons, which again, using the Street Fighter example, if you're doing like a long combination with like one of the characters and having to do this long intricate combination, you can save it to one of the macros. So the next time you hit it, you just have to push the button once and it does it instead of having to do the whole combination again. You still have to do the combination right the first time to be able to save it, but at least if you want to throw it again, you'll be able to do that, which is cool for like Hadouken, like a move that's not super difficult to throw, but it's kind of nice just to be able to save that if you want to be able to do them quickly.
Definitely. Some controls are hard to translate from an arcade joystick and button configuration into handheld. So the fact that you can save some of the more tricky combinations is just it's a stroke of brilliance. And I think that is the level of detail this team has thought through. I mean, when I introduced this product to my press network and when we were at the booth, I showed them all of your products, and that one continued. The GameStation Go and Retro, the Atari and the Capcom and Bandai, two separate products, were the top of everybody's mind. This is so cool. When's it coming out? And how much does it cost? Do you have the answer to that for the Retro?
Yeah, so for the GameStation Retro Go, this is going to be available in Q3 this year, and the price will be $199.99 MSRP for the US.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
That's
just
amazing.
it's probably worth sharing with the community, but the Atari Gamestation Go came to the market last year, and obviously was a huge hit. But for this year, for the GameStation Retro line, we're actually even a bit further ahead with development with this collection than we were with Atari at the same time last year. So development for this is going great. Yeah, so we think people are going to be super pumped about this collection. It's so cool. Like, at the end of the day, like we want stuff that we're going to want to play as well, like the people at my arcade. So we're just so pumped to get these things wrapped up so we'll be able to use them too.
That's exciting. Yeah, I even the pole position, like the prototype that I tested at your office maybe a year and a half ago, it is so much fun. And I know the reviewers got it and they said the same thing, but I I have no reason to exaggerate. It is an incredible experience. You guys are able to capture on such small handheld, and I think it's worth noting just the level of detail and the fact that you're somehow able to capture the essence of an arcade game in something that can fit in the palm of your hands. Even the Sonic product, if you don't mind holding that up again, the
Yep.
Sonic joystick is true to the original size. So you're holding on to an actual original sized joystick. That feeling of standing behind an arcade machine is still there. It's just not taking up 6 feet of space and weighing 300 pounds and costing, a couple grand refurbished. So I think that's an incredible thing you guys are doing.
For most people, it's like if you live in an apartment, it's like you probably don't have enough space for like a big arcade machine there, but you do have enough space to grab a few My Arcade machines to include in your apartment or office, and so like people on social media will send us a picture of just like a shelf that has like half a dozen of our products lined up, and that's so cool to see. But yeah, in terms of what you were describing, I think when we're developing new products, something we say internally is that we don't necessarily want it to look the way it looked, but we want it to feel the way it felt. And so, which is, it's a delicate line to toe because some people want, as close to an exact replica as possible. But the challenge with that is that sometimes if you're scaling something down that's like an exact replica, you do run into like playability issues where some of the controls get maybe too small to play at a miniature size. So for us, we can, kind of play with the proportions 6:7 to make sure that, it still plays great, even though it's a small version.
Wow, you slid that in there, really, really sly.
So
There's a product behind you I want to talk about, and it's strategic why I want to talk about it. But you guys entered the countertop arcade space. Can you tell us a bit more about that product behind you and or the venture into the countertop arcade space? How's that been? Has that officially launched, and how's it doing for you guys so far?
the Atari Gamestation Mega behind me here on top of my mini fridge, yeah, we've gone into this tabletop size range, which has been, I think, like a rational expansion for our line. I would say something that's kind of an advantage that we have, or kind of like a core competency with how we approach new products, is that we are patient and take a long time to really consider the types of moves that we want to make. So when we're looking to either get into a new form factor or launch a new license or whatever it may be, add new features, for us, it's a carefully considered process. So we want to make sure it benefits us long term. We aren't really making these kind of like overnight snap judgments and saying like, oh, that's what's gonna lead to the next major boom. Like we're gonna jump in that, and that's what's gonna make the difference for us. And some companies do take that approach, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But I think for us, we've been in this space for so long, and our business model has been successful over a long period of time. So we have kind of built up trust in the way that we approach things, and it continues to benefit us.
Yes, it does. And having met your team, your senior leadership, your partners, I can attest to the strategy, the family-like feeling.
Mhm.
Having worked with you guys, I never felt like an outsider, which is incredible. You guys truly feel like a family. And you eat like one too. When we were at CES, we had quite the feast together,
Yeah.
which was incredible. You guys work hard and play harder. So my arcade has established global dominance in the handheld category. You guys are slightly expanding into the countertop category, countercade, bar top. Would there be any desire or inclination to expand into three-quarter scale and or full size, given your experience, your network, your licenses, etc.?
I think just kind of building on what we were just talking about, but I think anytime we look to move into a new space, we spend a ton of time just doing research and considering all the variables and incentives, but also risks about making these kind of changes and how that may affect both our product line, but also what the reaction of the community will be. Based on whatever else is going on in the market. So that being said, it is something that we keep a close eye on the industry and on the market. And, obviously with Arcade1Up situation, and some of the other brands in the space, there has been some changes going on with the full size or 3/4 size arcade machines. But that's about all I can say right now, is that we keep a close eye on things, and yeah, never know what the future holds.
That's exciting. You heard it here first, folks. I
I
appreciate that.
Hey, that's the truth. This is a space that I think that we do really well in, and have had this kind of like slow boil to becoming a dominant brand in the space, if not the dominant brand in the retro gaming space now. So yeah, we're always keeping an eye on things that may make sense in the future.
That's brilliant. And for perspective and additional context for the people watching, it's not like anybody can just make something and go to market. It is so expensive, and the toll it takes on staff in terms of R&D development. I mean, sending Michael to China for a month, you can't do that with your entire staff. You can't do that frequently. I mean, I'm sure your next trip is probably planned for a week and might be 2 or 3, but that's how the cookie crumbles. To add a line of products as extensive, having been in the home arcade business as long as I had been, it's a lot. And then just think about the supply chain and logistics impact, right? So I can't say how, I forget, and you might know how many of your, say, Gamestation Go can fit on a pallet, but arcade machines, it's like 15 to 20 max. And then you factor in pallet cost and storage.
That's on a pallet. Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard. It's a logistical challenge, but no better company than My Arcade to take that challenge on, because you guys own your own warehouse. It's massive. That's something I don't think a lot of people are aware of. You guys own, and we can, if this is off the record, we can edit this part out, but you guys own your own warehouse, you take your own inventory, and you own a lot of your own inventory, which is something a lot of brands can't and won't do. So kudos, because they don't just walk the walk, or talk the talk, they walk the walk. They take the risk, they believe in their products, and then they take the inventory risk and help bring that to market if they really believe in it.
Yeah, and I think it's just been, a long-term strategy with how we approach things. I wish it was more kind of like an epiphany that we had, but this is just slow gradual improvements that we've made over decades. And so when we see some brands just looking to jump into the market, especially what may be like a new space or a new like form factor, or direction for them, it's like I said, at the end of the day, we're all gamers, and so I like to see other brands do well, especially if they're making cool stuff. But there's also a lot of room for error if maybe they're not familiar with what's going on in the space and they're just trying to kind of rush through it. So yeah, so I think it's kind of balancing both of those things. But even though we are very considerate and make sure that we take our time with decision making, there is still definitely a place where we have to get things done. And over the years we put together a great team that's a multi-award winning team for various categories, and so there's a lot of trust that we've built up along the way.
Yes, and that doesn't just go to consumers, it speaks across press, retailers. I've met with all major retailers, some of which with your brand, some of which without. And they speak so highly of you when you are in the room and when you are not in the room. And that speaks volumes to who you guys are. I'll give an example. My contact at CNN and or Forbes, both in which when I was talking to them about your products, they're like, yeah, we're already in talks with Michael. I'm like, what? That's incredible. Like, you have existing relationships, established relationships, and valuable relationships across not just press, not just retailers, but in the community as well. If the day ever came, and I'll keep my fingers crossed, and please, please let Arcade PR be the one to take this to market. If you do ever enter home arcade space, I trust you guys will do it the best because of the quality, the detail, and the resources and reputation that you guys have. I know if you ever did, it would be an incredible venture.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. I mean, working with you has just been a blessing, and you're so talented that it really does make our lives easier working with such a reputable source like you guys. So yeah, but we're We have a lot of new products in queue for this year that we showed at CES, and other stuff that we haven't even talked about yet. But we're putting the game on notice, man. There's a lot of cool stuff coming, so don't blink. Keep an eye on us.
I love that. Okay, I'm gonna save for the sake of everybody's time, just rapid fire, quick questions. You can say skip. We can
All
go
right,
through it.
sure.
What is your favorite product you've ever developed at My Arcade?
Atari
Or
Gamestation Go. Atari Gamestation Go, because it really embodied the new direction that we were looking to go as a brand.
do you have a least favorite product you've developed that's like a stain
Um,
on your resume?
Not lately, but a long time ago, when I was still very early in my career, we launched what was called I'm not even gonna say the product name, but it was a Bluetooth receiver, and it was in the early days of when Bluetooth speakers were becoming a thing. And so it was this little adapter that you could put on, like if you had like a home stereo that was only you could only use wired or with your TV, you could put our Bluetooth receiver, like just attach it to the aux line, and it would make your home theater wireless. Seems simple enough, super useful, but communicating that just via packaging back in the day, we just could not get the idea across, and to the general consumer. And that was like still even like I don't want to say the early days of social media, but it was just a totally different like outreach and approach to how we did things. So I would say that one. I mean, it wasn't even like it was like a stain in my resume and things, but looking at it like from the lens of today, we definitely could have handled that differently.
Well, hindsight is 2020, and those are the lessons you take into your subsequent launches and products. What would
Yeah,
you say? Oh, sorry, go
took
ahead.
our licks along the way, like, the battle scars. That's wisdom, right?
So we kind of discussed how you do marketing, you do PR, you do social, and if you don't necessarily directly do it, you manage the teams that do. What's your favorite part of the day? Is it product dev, creative, marketing? Do you have any parts where you're like, I love doing this?
Uh, I like all the aspects for different reasons. I kind of like being able to kind of float between these different things that need to get done. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm still a designer, so I love just kind of sketching and working on brand new products. I don't think that's ever going to change. Um, but yeah, really kind of working across the different fields is pretty satisfying, especially when you see it working like across multiple years. It'd be one thing if we were kind of wearing too many hats and things weren't working out, but the fact that we're working better than ever as a team, and it's like we're seeing the fruits of our labor. It's super rewarding, and I think reinforces that we're doing the right stuff.
That's cool. Okay, the last one, maybe second last one, depending on how this one goes. Do you have a message for the community, the people watching, the people who have been supporting you, maybe people that are new to the brand? Anything you'd like to say to the fans?
Well, I think something that we've developed a reputation for is that we listen to the community. Whether it's the influencers that we work with or the content that we post on social media, etc. When we get feedback from the community, we we honestly keep lists of all the feedback that we get and see what changes we're able to reasonably implement. We can't do everything that people ask for, just kind of the nature of the beast. But it's great having a community that's so involved with what we're doing, and I think that's what makes it even better when we finally bring products to market, because the community gets so excited, as do we. And so I think the message to the community is just thank you, and let's keep going.
Let's keep going, keep supporting them. And as a third party, I can happily confirm this is true. When I was working with you guys, I want to say it was pole position. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think the gas pedal was in a different location. We tested it. Somebody tested it. An influencer tested it. Something changed. I think the gas pedal had to change its location. Something, or the
Oh,
steering wheel.
menu button positions. They used to be like above the gas and the brake, but we realized that if you're pushing the gas and the brake pedal in the front, having the menu buttons right above that, it's just a little bit too close proximity wise on a mini arcade. So we moved the button slower. But even like on the Atari GameStation Pro, which I don't have one in front of me, but that was our first foray into Atari. We were on the fence when we first showed the product about including a paddle or not. But the community was so just so vocal about, you guys need, please include a paddle, please include a paddle. But that was actually at the time a really difficult decision, because every brand that had introduced a paddle got roasted. And like, it's not right, whatever, the transition of using a paddle on, like, the original arcade or the original Atari machines, like doing that with like modern or digital components and software, it just didn't work right. And so when we got that feedback from the community, we're like, all right, if we're going to do this, we got to do it right. And that, again, is why I mentioned the Atari Gamestation Go, but even the Gamestation Pro, and many of its own ways, kind of signaled the new direction of the brand. And I'm glad that we've gone this route, because it was necessary both for us and for the gaming community, for someone to step up.
Yeah, and you guys did it. Have you had any complaints since, or you guys you hit the nail?
I mean, there's like little things that come up along the way. I think that's just, again, it's how it goes. It's like, there's a reason that Apple has to launch a new iPhone every year, right? It's like, if they could have come out with the new iPhone as the first iPhone, maybe they would have. But I think design, product development, all of it is an iterative process. And so by the time we bring something to market, we're already thinking about what the improvements are that we can make for the next one.
That's cool. That's super cool. Is there anything I have not yet asked that you'd like to discuss while I have you?
Plenty, but I think that's enough for this episode. So I'll see you next time.
What was your experience like working with me?
Oh man, working with you guys was a huge help. Working with Arcade PR really felt like an extension of our own marketing team, and really took a lot of the weight off of our shoulders. You guys were just so knowledgeable and professional, and can't recommend you enough.
Thank you. That means the world to me. Appreciate it.